Good morning, friends. Here we are today. It is so good to be with you again. I need to fix my graphic for a minute. Today we're talking about why do the 2, 3, and 4 chords work. Steve Uhlberg here from Dulcimer Crossing for our live stream, and it is good to be with you. Last week we talked about the 1, 4, and 5 chords in any key and why they work for music. And we did a lot about how they all worked together and things like that. And I'm going to review that as we also take a look at, I want to share my screen with you. And I need to find my window that does that. Okay. And here's what we did then. We took the 1, 4, and 5 chords, and just to review, Arabic numerals are reserved for the steps of the scale for all the steps of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're using the example of D because that's the one we used last week. And we used it last week because, well, in the dulcimer world, we use D for a lot of things. So it's our reference. If I'm going to have the 1 chord, I'm going to choose, and let me bold these so you can see this. I'm going to have a D, an F sharp, and an A. That'll be the notes that make up my D chord. I'm choosing the 1, 3, and 5 of wherever we are. Excuse me. Now, to get the G chord, I'm going to start at G. Oops, and I'm going to have a G, a B, and then a D again. Now, you'll notice I could have gone up higher, but I only did my scale to here because after you get here, you come around and use the same names again. My 5 chord is going to be built on the 5th step of the scale. It's going to be the A, C sharp, and then I have an E, which would be the next one higher if we'd keep on going up the scale that way. And as you notice, every one of the steps of the scale got used in building of these chords. Every one of these chords has something in common with the major chord, the 1 chord. So, for example, D and G both have Ds in them. The A chord and the D chord both have A's in them. The D chord only shows up in the F sharp. The G and the B only show up in the D chord, the G chord, which is the 4 chord. And the E and the C sharp only show up in the A chord. Let's just give a little. There we go. So what is that? And so we talked about how these things all are so close to each other as a result. Let's see. Yeah, I want to have this here for anybody who wants to join in. And I didn't say good morning to everyone in the chat like I intended to. So let me do that. Now, here we are in this handout. It is time for us now, and I'm going to stop sharing just for a minute. We explored how it felt in our bodies when we used the 1 chord The 1 chord kind of feels like we're resting. The 4 chord feels like we're really leaning forward. And the 5 chord feels like we're just chilling. And we are grateful to, why are you not hiding? There we go. Okay. We're grateful to Janita Baker for this, talking about how they feel in our body. And we used the 3 major chords, but in the handy dandy chord finder, if you make the International I Love You sign and start with your pinky, the 1, everything pointing out is a major chord in the major key. 1, the 2 and the 3 are both turned in. Those are minor chords. 4 and 5 are major. And then the 6 over here, if we were polydactyl and had another one over here, the 6th finger, that will be minor also. So the way this is also helpful to me is when we're approaching songs that we don't know what they are, we sometimes feel overwhelmed by all the choices that are possible. And I realized last week, a lot of songs only need 3 chords. But if they have more chords, there's 3 more that tend to get used. We're leaving out one right now, and we'll talk about that one next week. Good morning, Kelly. And I didn't say hi to Talon by name, but it's good to have you both here. So now we want to look at what are the minor chords that showed up in that handy dandy chord finder. Let's go back to sharing the screen. And let's fill in the blanks. E and G, I'm going to use, because they're minor, I'm going to use lowercase just for now. This is one of the ways that chords get designated, using upper and lowercase. You can see with the Roman numerals, I certainly did that. And that's the classical way of describing these things. So if I have an E, a G, and a B, I get clearly what sounds like a minor chord. Now, if on the mountain dulcimer, if I move that up a fret, I get, and this is going to be a lowercase F sharp, and then I get A, and then C sharp. Oops, no, I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to make them bold, make the whole thing bold. And I want you to be bold before too. So F sharp A C, that's the same as the on the mountain dulcimer. Let's step away for a minute. And let's compare to the 2 instruments. A 1-1-3 in DAD tuning gives me an E minor. A 2-2-4 gives me an F sharp minor. And a 5-5-7, it's one L shape, gives me the B minor. So the beauty is on the mountain dulcimer in this DAD tuning, we can get all 3 minor chords using one shape. Here's the beauty of the hammer dulcimer. Here's my D chord in the box. If I move up and play the G, there's the 5 chord. Or I can go. Now if I move up one from my mark to my E minor, I've got an E minor chord playing the same box shape. I call the shape Utah. And if I play one more, there's my F sharp minor. If I go up to the B minor, same shape, I've got a B minor chord. I can also walk down 2 from D and get the B minor shape. So one of the things that's beautiful for dulcimers is if I have one shape and move it around, I can play all 3 of those minor chords. That's just a side thing. That doesn't happen on every other instrument. So we've built the E, G, B. That's the 2 minor chord. The F sharp A, C sharp is the F sharp minor chord. Now we need to build the B minor chord. We're going to do that with a lowercase b. And just like when we went for the G and we went up over the top to get our D, we're going to come down here, get our D there, and our F sharp. So I don't know if you're noticing that one of the things that's happening is we're skipping. When we're building chords, we're always skipping something. 1, 3, 5. This is, even though I'm starting on the second step of the scale, it's producing a 1 flat 3, 5. And this one is producing a 1 flat 3, 5. Here we got a 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5. Now, if this is coming down around the top, it's throwing you off too much. Let's just do it this way. 8, 9, 10. And let's build these chords up this way. So if I could do this D here, the same D is E over here. And this E is over here. Same E that's down here is up here. And then I can build my, here's the D. Use lowercase because that's what I was doing before. So now you can see we've just gone straight up like this, building up to the 10th step of the scale. Now, the symmetry here is beautiful, I think. I don't know if this makes, if any of you have the same appreciation or the same warm part of your heart for the beauty of this as I do right now. I mean, I really get excited about this stuff because I don't know about you, but when you're trying to understand music and how it works, it can feel like trying to drink out of a fire hose with a teaspoon. And it just blows all over you. None of it makes sense. And you keep trying, if you're like me, you keep trying to wrestle it into the way that I think it should work. And it works until, that doesn't include that. It doesn't include that. And when I finally looked at the whole musical system in the way it's working, I was delighted by the beautiful symmetry of it. But I had to wrestle with it for a long time before I let it show me how it actually works, instead of me trying to wrangle it into a way that I think it should have worked instead. But what happens, let's go back to sharing. We have the minor chords now in here. And I think this is a beautiful way to show the building of them, but it can be a little bit confusing for how they all actually are behaving or how they relate to each other. So I want to show you one other thing. And I'm going to go to my file box here. And I'll share my screen then. Not you. No, not you. No, that's not it. I thought I had it right here. Oh, there we go. Finding chords to go with melodies. That's what I wanted. Okay. Now let's share our screen again and do it with the thing I wanted to do it with. Different application. No, that's not the right one. Yeah, let's do it here. Oh, this is interesting. There it is. Okay. So now you can see I've isolated and taken everything out and put it in context. The D chord has these notes in it. These are all the major chords on this side of the double bar. These are all the minor chords that go with the key of D on this side of the double bar. But one of the things you can see is that D, F sharp, and A are all our notes. Two of those three notes are found in the B minor chord. So when we talk about things being relative major and relative minor, that's what we're saying. Two of the three notes are the same. So the D and the B minor chord have a special relationship and sometimes can be substituted one for the other. So that makes me curious. I wonder if other chords are like that. So let's try the G chord. G, B, D. In the key of, in the E minor chord, G and B are there. Aha. G and E are also relative major and minor of each other, and they can be substituted for each other. A, C sharp, and E. A, C sharp. Aha. A and F sharp also share two of the same three notes. Are you seeing what's happening here? Are you seeing the symmetry? I just think this is gorgeous. There's one other way we can see this, and that's in the circle of fifths. And that's not the one I want. Okay, that's the one I want. Teacher, you should get all your handouts ready before the class. Now, if I'm looking here, here's the circle of fifths. On the outside are all the major chords, but sometimes not clearly demonstrated is on the inside of the circle are all the minor chords, and they are inside relating to the major chord that they relate to. So if I'm to circle this as the key we're in, D is the 1 chord, G is the 4 chord, A is the 5 chord, just like a clock. If D is 2, G is 1 o'clock, A is 3 o'clock. The relative minor of D can be found in the middle, B minor. Relative minor of G can be found in the middle, E minor. Relative minor of A found in the middle is F sharp minor. That makes up the key of those are the primary chords that make up the key of D. Now we've left out one chord. We're going to talk about that one next week. But if you have any questions about this, go ahead and ask them in the chat. And if this is the kind of stuff that just needs to sit on the stove and simmer for a while, I certainly understand that, because that's the way it goes for me too. But the beauty of this is it's showing me I don't need to know everything. I just need to know probably, there are a lot of songs where we go from the 1 chord to the 1 chord. Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea. That's the 1 chord. Actually the 3 minor chords. The magic dragon lived 4 by the 1 and fa da 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 to the 6th chord in a da E. That's the 2 da 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 5. That's one of those songs that uses all of these chords in it. Now, not all songs do that. I found my thrill. That's a 4 chord. On Blueberry Hill. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. That only used 3. It was all major chords. But what if I went, heart and soul, I fell in love with you, heart and soul. Da 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 da. 1, 6, 4, 5, 1. 6, 4, 5. And that turns out to be a very, very common progression, so common that it was used classically centuries ago. The 1, 6, 4, 5, or the substitutions thereof. Now, let's test something. So in the mountain dulcimer world, we are used to boiling the cabbage down, boys, turn them hoe cakes round. The only song that I can sing is boiling cabbage down. The 1, 4, 5 of that. But what if we substituted all those chords for the other ones? Boiling cabbage down, boys, turn them hoe cakes round. The only song that I can sing is boiling cabbage down. Now, the 3 minor chord didn't have the melody note in it that we were looking for. Boiling cabbage down, boys, turn them hoe cakes round. The only song that I can sing is boiling cabbage down. But you can see it changed the character of it, but it's kept the same melody with the related minor notes. So here's a question. If you take an old-timey version of I Ride on Old Paint with only 1 4. Very punny, Jim. I think you've answered your own question. But there is something, these minor chords that are part of the major scale are behaving in relationship to their major scale. Here's the other important thing I want to say today. If I make the minor chord the 1 chord, all of a sudden we're in a different territory. And I shared this one with my patrons on Patreon. Hush-a-bye, don't you cry. Go to sleep, you little baby. Because this is a minor mode tune in the Dorian mode. The Aeolian mode. Hush-a-bye, don't you cry. Go to sleep, you little baby. When you wake, you shall have all the pretty little horses. Blacks and bays, dapples and grays, coach and 6 wide, coach and 6 wide horses. Hush-a-bye, don't you go to sleep, you little baby. I didn't have that arrangement with me. I was trying to remember. But now B is the 1 chord, and so everything is changed. And that's a whole different discussion about what happens modally when you have different chords. I forgot to stop sharing my screen. I thought I was talking right to you. There we go. Okay. But a B minor chord, the A chord, that's the flat 7 behind it. Actually, last Thursday in our Leap Forward class for musical understanding, Karen Ashbrook spent a lot of time talking about that flat 7 chord. So we'll talk about that at a different time. Let's see if there's any questions that you have right now about what we're talking about. And while I'm waiting for you to formulate those questions, let me just summarize again. We built the chords using 1 3 or 1 flat 3 and 5 from all the notes that were possible in the diatonic scale of D. And that created it created this beautiful symmetry of what happens when we're walking up the scale. If we just take our hand on a piano, it does this. If we take the same shapes on a mountain dulcimer, it does that too. Actually, let's demonstrate that too. If I take an L shape on the mountain dulcimer, and my 002 is an L, it's like my fingers are at the nut. There's a major chord, minor, minor, major, using the 6.5 fret, major, minor, and then the diminished one, because I have a 6 and a 6.5 both, I have to shift mine in order to play the diatonic chord. So D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major using 6.5, B minor, and then getting what is a diminished chord, and we're going to talk about that next week. And then I'm back to the same one again. So the L shape is key for finding all of these chords in order on a mountain dulcimer. On a hammer dulcimer, if I use the Utah shape, I've got D, E minor, F sharp minor, G, A, and here's where I don't have the 6.5 fret. If I go up the expected one, it's going to be a minor chord, but if I use the T shape, I'll get the A that I'm expecting, then back to the Utah shape, and then I have to do the walking up this, and then I'm back to D again. It's not exactly the same as on the mountain dulcimer, but it's got an analog. It's close to being the same. So if you have any questions that you want me to take a look at before we go, remember these live streams are now a half hour long, because as I got my shirt on, I'm ready to teach my Music Together class. Every Wednesday I have my one of my Zoom classes with my families. So in this time frame that we have, this stay at home and reach the world, kind of interesting, isn't it? Oh, I know what I wanted to do before we left. I wanted to go from the one chord to each one of the minor chords, so you could feel better what that feels like. When I'm playing the D chord, this is in this reverse slant shape, 4, 3, 2, and I go up. No, it's just a step up. If I'd want to play the F sharp minor chord and go, it's only one note changing to the reverse L shape. So reverse slant, 4, 3, 2 to a 4, 2, 2. Or I can go from that was to the 3 chord next. And there were a lot of songs in the 70s that used that. The Peter, Paul, and Mary's Puff the Magic Dragon is one of those that actually did work, did that, but then tons of 70s singer-songwriter songs went to that 3 minor chord next. This is the stereotypical one where I'm going from a D chord to a B minor. It's a stretch slant, and then this is reverse slant, a G, and then an A. Or I can do them the other way. And that's cool, Talon. Trying to formulate the question is the first step, isn't it? In Dorian, yes, Pachelbel canon does go actually all the way through those. That's right. In E minor, in E Dorian or Dorian of any scale, it's the 5 chord is going to be still the 5 chord in D is G. If you go up, it's going to be an A major chord in Dorian. And that's why we can hear that. We talked about this in Karen's class too. This is E minor. That note right there is the Dorian note. That's the A chord in the E Dorian Road to Lisden Varna. That's the one that's distinctive in the Dorian scale. Well, friends, it is time for me to go right now. As always, you can find us here in Dulcimer Crossing. And I'm going to, oops, I forgot to share my screen because that's what I was supposed to do what I wanted to do next. And you can find your playing level. You can choose your instrument. You can find everything by the teacher you want to work with or that intrigues you. Our live screen Wednesdays are here. This is the Leap Forward. It's now archived on the page that goes to live events, and you can find all those archives here. When you're logged in, this is everything that's coming up, and then our live events that we host are here. And this one will be archived here, like the other ones from the previous weeks have been archived. They are archived on Facebook, but you don't have all the data of what the title and that kind of stuff is. Don Petty is our next live instructor. Dulcimer tunings, the how and why. You can see he's using a mountain dulcimer there. Karen was here using mostly hammer dulcimer. And when she does that, Aaron May did the mountain dulcimer translation. When Don is here talking mountain dulcimer, I'll talk the hammer dulcimer translation. Before that was Ken Kolodner. And before that was Nina Zanetti. And before that was Wendy Sange. And before that was Stephen Humphreys and Aubrey Atwater and Matthew Dickerson. And Aaron May and I introduced this class series. So we've got a lot of archives in there. And that's for the archives are for the premium members. Okay, let me stop sharing and wave goodbye. And say, we'll see you next time. Next time, we're going to take a look at that diminished chord. We've got the majors, we've got the minors, and there's that one diminished chord. What is up with that? So we'll talk about what's up with going down, what's up with the diminished chord. And I'll see you next week. I hope you have a great week. If you have questions, you can always write. Write me at steve@dulcimercrossing.com. And I'll do my best to make up an answer for you.